welcome to today's Blueprint podcast, Tech Insight for today's busy decision makers. My name's Tim Hancock and my fellow co-host is...
I'm Danny Amini, I'm Services CTO, and today we have got Pedro. Pedro, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Pedro Varela. I'm Chief AI Officer at BGSS, and I'm very happy to be here with you too.
Good, we're happy to have you here. So what we like to do is to start the conversation with nothing to do with technology, not necessarily, but it may be. Tell us a little bit about what's your favourite hobby?
Oh, hobby.
Outside of AI, obviously.
Is there such a thing as a... No, I think that I do try to be away from the computer as much as possible. And I moved to London 1.5 years ago. And I'm trying to embrace the culture as much as I can. And one of the things that people started asking me is, oh, have you tried a Sunday roast? And I said, I have no idea what a Sunday roast is. And that became my thing. So now every Sunday, I leave my house, and I still London-wise, people have been pushing me to say, you need to go out of London. And I'm trying a new place for a Sunday roast every Sunday. So I don't know if this is a hobby or not, but it is a...
So this leads in nicely to a question we asked Mike Buck a few weeks ago, actually, which was Yorkshire pudding. Is it valid in a Sunday roast?
It definitely belongs in a Sunday roast.
Welcome to Britain. Welcome to 21st century Britain. That's good. Good answer. I'm pretty good at... I've said this before to other people. It's the one thing I can cook amazingly well. I'm not going to lie. I think I may be the greatest Yorkshire pudding maker of all time.
Anyway, shall we move on to AI?
Away from cooking to AI.
Yeah. So I think I've got the first question today to Pedro. So how do you feel about the current AI landscape, Pedro?
In emotional roller coaster. I think that I do struggle a lot with that. So a bit of context. I started doing AI last century. So I started with pattern recognition, and at the time it was something new for me and a mixture of science fiction. Of course, I was much younger at the time, and the maturity didn't caught up yet. And I couldn't wait for the world, because I am team machine, by the way. So I do believe that machines would be amazing at ruling us humans. And I thought, I can't wait for the world where machines will actually be able to be at the stage where they will make decisions, and it will be so much better. And that's why I kept having the desire to work with AI. Over the last 3 years, what we see is that the machines are actually part of the societal ecosystem now, because everybody can actually use AI. And I start to think that we are not ready for that as a society, as an organizations, as humans. We are not ready for what's coming. And that's why I get a bit scared. I get scared that we are not teaching in schools how to use AI, what's the do's and don'ts. And suddenly I look at my nephew, who is just 8, and said, you'll never learn how to drive. You'll never learn. I don't know how to communicate with you, how to engage with someone who's going to have such a different life from the one I had. So that's what I'm scared. So I'm really happy, but at the same time, I'm very apprehensive of what's coming next.
So do you want to, let's go into that. I mean, there's a lot there to unpack. I mean, team machine.
It's even scary.
Team machine. That's quite a bold thing. So one takeaway I'm getting from there is the horse has already bolted. Yeah. We're already there. We're already moving forward. We've got to look at now. We can't go back and stop this.
It's you know what? I've been thinking about this is December 2023 with the launch of 2022 with the launch of GPT, the commercial version. I was really scared, and of course, working at BGSS, I thought, oh my God, consultancy is dead. Because in a couple of years, what we will have is the machines being extremely good at doing the work that we are doing. So how do we deal with that? How do we prepare for what's coming? And one of the things I used to say is that we already lost the battle. The same way cloud, for instance. I don't know if you guys recall Dropbox. And at the time, he said, if you refer a colleague, you get 100 megas. And at the time, megas, right? So, and then you really wanted, like, I don't know if it was 2 gigas or 3 gigas. That's the holy grail of space, of storage space that you like to have. There was no regulation, and we were all using that. And suddenly, there was this discussion, oh, wait, who owns the data? So we do see the difference, the slow pace in which technology is regulated. So when we started to have these models, these The first one was the commercial one, that was GPT, but we could already envision how many we would have, and suddenly say, oh, we have no regulation. So it's lost in a way, and that's what we are seeing at the moment as well, which is it's really difficult to keep up for the regulation. And by the way, regulation most of the time, and this is a completely different conversation, or maybe we can go that way, but regulation is mostly about, it's very static. Regulation is very rarely about the future. So if everything is changing, there's this huge fast pace of technology, specifically in AI, how can actually regulation keep up? And how can we not feel that we have already lost that specific battle?
Regulation does feel like it's reactive at the moment, doesn't it? Completely.
Do you think we're over-regulated in the UK? It just feels like America feels a little bit more unregulated. France feels a little bit more unregulated. I know we've had the AI summit recently in Paris, but is the UK being slightly stifled, do you think? Or are we on the right track? I know we've had a recent white paper published by the UK government, and one of your previous colleagues said that it was a really good, well-written document. I've not read it actually, but I don't know what you think. Are we at the cutting edge, or do you think we need to go a little bit harder and write it a bit harder?
So the AI playbook, the one that was released, it's really good. I think it's good. It's not really regulation, right? So it's a guidance. You mentioned about the Paris summit. My question, I think it's amazing, but it's the so what? So you had all of these people, amazing people, brilliant academics, brilliant researchers on the AI, true leaders on the AI space, together with the governments. But then it's the so what? So what happens next? And that's the true challenge that we actually have regarding the regulation, about being behind. Everybody's behind. So and we saw that with data as well. So the US does not have the same policy regarding privacy that we have in Europe in general. So we will always have these changes. So what about suddenly we have other players as well? We have China, who will have a different way to look at the same concepts as well. So how do you combine everything in one single perspective, and how do you define, am I behind? I'm really happy that at least we are starting to have the conversations.
Talking of behind, we've got to talk about DeepSeek. We've got to talk about some of the disruption that has happened recently, because it's had seismic implications and potentially implications yet to come. Do you want to talk? What's your view on what's happening in China?
Are you using it? I guess.
Yeah,
I know you are, Danny.
I'm using it now. Using it, or is it using me?
I think it's using you.
So, what's your take? What are you? Does that upset so much, or does it act as a catalyst for a different way of thinking about how to train LLMs specifically?
I would like to go back a bit. I'd like to go to Google doing DeepMind. I'd like to go back to the time where suddenly we have the ability to do deep learning in such a way that we solve a problem that we had no possibility to solve before with a Go game. So that was disruptive. So disruption in the AI space has been happening for quite some time. Now what we have is the distance between these disruptive points being smaller and smaller and smaller. So back in November, I don't know if you recall, but there was so many naysayers about the progress of AI. So what we had is, by the way, AI just reached a point of no evolution anymore. So there's the scaling law as achieved, and we will not progress any further. Suddenly we have the reasoning models, and suddenly we say, actually, we can improve a bit more. And then, end of January, we have DeepSeek. DeepSeek is different people will have different, again, it's what they take from DeepSeek. For me, the thing is reinforcement learning. For me is actually thinking about how to use what is now, or at least what I call now traditional AI, which is machine learning and deep learning, and how can we actually go back and revisit that and combining with architectures. And if you think about it, it's just the natural way. So we started with these large language models technologies, and we had multiple companies actually building those, we needed to mature the knowledge. And once you mature the knowledge, that gives you space to actually think of alternatives, because that's how progress happens. So you don't think about something new for the sake of thinking of something new. You are motivated by something. So we matured one knowledge, and in AI, everybody doing AI or data science, you start with a question. And the moment you answer that question, it's never done. You have more questions. Actually, not one, multiple more questions. And I think that's what DeepSeek is actually showing, is we've done amazing work with this technology. What else can we do? What else can we combine it with? Boom, and suddenly we have a reasoning model with some issues, lots of hype. I mean, hype in the worst possible way. And Tim and I, we sometimes discuss the meaning of hype. There's so much noise when it comes to AI influencers out there that if you go to YouTube, you have people who just each week they'll say, oh, the world has changed, the world has changed, the world is over. It's how many times can the world be over for some of these people? And that's really interesting, right? So we had lots of misinformation regarding DeepSeek, but it is an amazing engineering work. It's an amazing technological work. And today I was reading an article by a PhD student in, I might be mistaken, it's from a US university. And using reinforcement learning, that he was able to use a very small large language model and train the small large language model with reinforcement learning. Now, reinforcement learning is the ability to give a reward to a system so that the system learns by itself. So if you think about the Go game, the one thing that they gave was, this is the rules of the game. Now, machine, you go and you think about all of the possibilities and learn by that. So each time it won a game, it said, oh, this is a positive sign. If it lost, it's a negative sign. And that's how the machine learned. Again, it actually learned that there's a very famous move, I think it's called number 37, that no one actually thought of, no one had discovered yet. So this is just to highlight how interesting and how powerful these technologies can be. Now, the reinforcement learning applied to this means that we'll have these smaller models where everybody, well, not everybody, but with the least, these will become recipes, right? We will be moving to a world where all of these things are commodity. We just go online, download the recipe, the architecture, the blueprint, and boom, you have that in your laptop. And that is amazing. That's truly being inclusive when it comes to the AI space.
It is quite insane how far we've come, isn't it? One thing, just go back on there, just thinking about this. So actually back to reasoning. Do you want to explain to people why reasoning is so important and is kind of a step up from where we started?
I usually say, first of all, that we need new words, because in this case, reason for humans might not be the same thing for the machines, because machines don't make decisions as we do. So in this case, what happens with a large language model is that they are trained on a specific data set. And they work on probabilities, meaning that if you have a specific, I'm going to super simplify this. If you have a specific sentence where words are exactly the same words, and they happen too often in a data set, then that's something that the machine will say, this is the most likely answer. So it will go in that way. Now, the reasoning also means that while these machines are amazing at capturing knowledge, they are really not good at generalizing the knowledge. Meaning, if I have a puzzle, a reasoning puzzle, the ones where you say, find the pattern. If I give you an example, you'll find the pattern of the image that comes next. If the model has seen that image, it will be very easy for the model to replicate it. If it has never seen the image, he will not be able to generalize the rules, the implicit rules of this matching, and transfer it to a new puzzle. We, as humans, it's very easy for us to do that. For the machine, it will be extremely difficult. Reasoning is doing that. Reasoning is capturing the implicit laws of what we are seeing, of what we are acting on, and transfer it to something that it has never seen before. The reasoning on the machine, just like the way that they make decisions is not the same as we do as humans, is not the same. So reasoning is, what we are doing is artificially creating this process of combining information so that the model is now able to do something that's similar to human reasoning.
I mean, that's huge, isn't it? And I've seen it recently. I'm not a AI specialist, but to see the thoughts and the process of thinking about something is massive. I know one of the things that is put against AI at the moment is how will it affect our humans' critical thinking? How will it affect us? Are we just going to believe everything that we see? Are we going to understand how to question it? And I can't help thinking that reasoning is part of that critical thought conversation that we should have in our own heads.
Were we actually critical as a society ever? So it's and I think that's the point. I don't think that I completely agree with you when it comes to, for instance, the dangers that the headlines that we've had about deepfakes, right? About I really don't know if that person is really saying that. I really don't know if that person is the video that I'm seeing, if it is true or not. But it's not really new. We already have that when it comes to, do you really trust what you are reading? Do you really trust the information that person is actually giving you? So critical thinking has always been important. It's now enhanced even further, but it's always been part of the dangers of a society where information is just easily accessed. So there are other papers now. There's a very famous paper that was released a couple of weeks ago that talks about, are we becoming dumber because of GPT? But if you think about it, well, I don't really have an opinion about that. But when I was in school in maths, I couldn't use a calculator. I wasn't allowed to. And then as time progressed, people were allowed to use them. I don't think that people are worse at math because of that. I do follow GPS. I am still able to memorize the trajectory that I want to go. It just makes my life a bit easier because it gives me added value. So I think it's going to be the same.
My favourite topic is agents, AI, agentic AI. And I know we have lots of conversations about this, and I know we're doing a piece of work, but I'd just like to get your take on that, given everything you just said.
Yeah, agents. I made a wrongful prediction because I thought that I thought that 2020.
We've got this on.
We have got this recorded.
Well,
I think he said salespeople.
No, well, I will rephrase then. So it's not wrong. I was early.
Right.
I thought that 2024 was going to be the year of the year of the agent. So there's something I really like where we have these dictionaries. They say the word of the year, and I was expecting that 2024 the word of the year would have been agents, because November 2024 we were in BTSS. We were already working with agents. We were already doing that, and there was lots of noise. It was just not massified. So in January suddenly it became this burst of things. So when we went to Ignite last year, it was all about AI, and it was all about, and you could see lots of agent word everywhere, and that was really, an explosion for me, because I said, yes, finally we are there. So an agent, and to make the distinction between an agent and just a regular prompt, and I usually like to use the barista example. So a prompt is a coffee machine. You just press a button and you have a coffee. An agent would be the barista. So you say hi, you do your order, you give the money, you get the charge and the change. They even ask, do you want something else? They get you the coffee, and then they say goodbye. All without you having to say, this is what you need to do. It's truly amazing.
That's good analogy.
That's great. It is agency that's being given. That's great.
But you know that agents, and if we fall into what is the agentic behavior of agents, has been used in computer science and in AI for decades now, and specifically in physics and biology, for instance. It's really important in research, because that's how you actually identify patterns that you would never be able to identify. When we have these AI-driven agents that will do all of these things, by the way, and this is where the hype thing, where we need to be really, really careful, which is, how do you make the distinction between science fiction, between these individual ideas that I have that machines were going to do everything to actually what the machines can actually do, they are really deeply flawed at the moment. And we need to understand where in our end-to-end process of whatever it is that we want to do, where these agents can actually bring value. But agents are, again, a prediction. By the end of the year, by the end of 2025, I do expect everybody to be talking about agents like we are talking about Word and Excel.
Wow.
So I'm just thinking of, if I was a, I don't know, CMO, CDO right now, and you were sitting there talking to me about all that great stuff, what 3 things would you say to me? Now, I've got to make a decision about using AI in my organisation, and we've done a bit of proof of value activity. What would you say to me? What guidance would you give me?
Well, first of all, experiment. Be happy with all of the failed experiments you make. You need to fail in order to succeed. Define value, because the definition of value is really not straightforward.
Yeah.
And build for tomorrow. It's really not something. It shouldn't be for today. So when I wake up, I have notifications, new model, new use cases, new advances. If we do not build something that's robust in 6 months, in a year, then do you really want to do it now? That's a conversation to have. And don't be afraid to make the questions. That's also something that I do see a lot. Don't be afraid to make the difficult questions.
Yeah. So in summary, experiment and fail, define value, and just ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And obviously, as an expert, you can help with the guiding of those questions.
No, absolutely. And that's the conversations we have, right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That was awesome. I always love Pedro and his predictions. It was bananas a while ago. It's now 8. Shall we get Pedro back to talk about quantum? I think we've got Steve Wilson as well, haven't we?
We'll get to do a bit of a quantum,
quantum off.
AGI, because I think some of these things are going to become a bit more. It's very, like you pointed out, it's kind of difficult to predict the future, and sometimes we can be off in the wrong direction or the right direction.
It's like talking about magic.
Wow, that's how we end this.
That's how we end this. Drop the mic.